Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Better Opinion. I'm your host, the cooler Kevin, replacing Kevin today. I'm joined by my co-host, Mansur. Hello, Mansur. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. I'm glad to be with you, cooler Kevin. I like you much better than regular Kevin.
Well, I'm much cooler than him.
Yeah.
You can tell due to my cool glasses and general cool demeanor.
Yes, I recognize that because I've recently come from Paris, where they all think they're very cool.
Well, and that is a mistake on their part. As the cooler Kevin, I know what's cool, and I know that the French are not cool.
That's crazy.
I know. How are you doing, though? How was your trip?
It was nice. The airplane liked to stab me in the back while we were traveling back, and it was very long. But
Stab you in the back?
yeah, it felt
Like it just had a knife?
It felt like it. It certainly felt like it.
There's something wrong with the chair?
I feel like it. The problem was it was one of those chairs it couldn't lean back because it was right next to the bathroom. So it was like,
Oh, yeah, that sucks. I hate that, especially on a long flight. That's rough.
yeah.
Well, a lot has happened. We skipped a couple weeks there due to one, your trip, and then two, illnesses repeated. First Mike's, then my own.
Yeah, we were very sick. Not in the good sense.
Not the good sense. Not like me, like I'm sick.
Yeah.
But we were ill. But a lot has happened. So we've got Luigi's Mansion and his new ghostly CEO guest. We got the Game Awards happened. Other stuff, drones flying over New Jersey that people think are like aliens.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot going on. What would you like to talk about today?
Well, I love Nintendo and Luigi's Mansion, so I think we should talk about that first.
Yeah, of course. And by Luigi's Mansion, I mean Luigi Mangione, the guy who killed the United Healthcare CEO.
Oh my God. What?
I know. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Honestly, as we've said before, murder's not a great thing for our society, but also it's kind of it's like when you hear who it is he killed, it's hard to feel too bad. Like it's not like we've lost a great person committing to society. He was really working against society.
Well, why is murder bad? You said we covered this, so let's go over it again.
Yeah.
Why is murder bad?
Murder's not great because there's a bit of in order to be in a society, we have to have some sort of trust with each other that we can work with. I can work with you and you can work with me. And I can say, it's like, hey, that wasn't so great. And you won't just kill me because I said that.
Right, and you can walk out in public without fear that someone's going to kill you. That's under a set of agreements.
Yes.
Right? And those agreements are that you will work to not screw me over and I will work to not screw you over. There's a quote from Martin Luther King about that, where it's if you disallow or don't act on peaceful protest, people will turn to violent protest. That's not the correct quote. It's something along those lines. But I've run into a few people a lot. So first off, it's very, very interesting. People have been, the vast majority of people polled are pro Luigi and anti Brian, the CEO. I forgot his last name. The United Healthcare CEO. Like people seem to feel positive about this. And the media has tried really hard to make him seem like he's a lunatic, even though the more you look into him, the more just like an average guy he seems to be. People are like, dude, look about his opinion on how to fix declining birth rates in Japan. And I was like, other than saying to ban Tanga eggs, he's saying that we should get people to meet other people more. I don't know. This doesn't seem that wild. He said less porn, more social interaction. I'm like, that's not really insane.
It's true. It wasn't it. Don't the government of Japan want that to happen too?
Yeah, they want people to have sex because there's
there's a declining birth rate.
Heavily declining. It's a demographic crisis, and which we're having too.
Yeah.
It just hasn't reached Japan level yet. And I remember they showed a quote from him reviewing a book, and the summation of his rather well-written review was, this guy is clearly evil and deserved the punishment he got, but the points that he makes were real problems. And it's that's a pretty level-headed critical review of a book.
Yeah. I saw that. I was confused. I was like, what is this about?
People are just trying really hard to depict him as a crazy man, but even his manifesto was a one-pager that just said, my camera couldn't see, but I made quotes when I said manifesto. It was a one-pager saying sorry for all the trouble I'm going to cause, but these people are scum and someone has to do something. So what is my point? My point is that we have a bunch of agreements in our society that we will act civil in exchange for people doing things that allow us to keep acting civil.
Yeah.
The healthcare companies have been screwing people over in the name of profit for a very long time. And despite the fact that for, I think, most of my lifetime, this has been an issue,
Yeah.
who's doing anything about it? The president after president isn't doing anything. Congress isn't. The Senate isn't.
No.
So, and the organizations sure aren't. They're getting worse, not better. So the question is, at what point can we stop thinking that the answer is nonviolent? I'm not advocating it, but I think that it's a valuable lesson. The rich and powerful have gotten very comfortable with getting away with evil. And it is evil. I know evil sounds like a strong word.
Well, when you deny people life-saving care, it's like going against something that would save someone's life in order to benefit monetarily as a CEO, which granted he is tasked to do as a CEO.
Right.
But,
well, the thing is that do I think this Brian, I wish I could remember his last name, Thompson? Thank you, Michael. Thompson. So Brian Thompson. Do I think that he is an evil man who sits around going, he, I can't wait to deny more claims so people die of cancer? Like, no, he's not Skeletor. He probably doesn't the thing is that not evil people who are not evil at their core do evil things because they believe it is correct because of whatever, whether it's just the dynamic of the organization, culture.
Yeah, the problem is it's very easy to justify yourself when you're not looking at consequences.
Yes.
One thing I've thought about, which I found interesting, was that it's nice to see that karma is happening at the very top. Because
well, that's what it really is, right?
Yeah, because otherwise, if he was just fired or whatever, he has a golden parachute to fly on down.
Oh yeah.
It was like,
well, here's the thing. The whole eye for an eye makes the whole world blind thing. That came after there was a law where there was an eye for an eye, right? The law was an eye for an eye. You kill my daughter, I kill yours. You stab my eye out, I stab out yours. That's the law. And then someone came along and said, as a king, who said, oh yeah, it's not really working. It was Solomon, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was Solomon. And he was like, that's not really working because now everyone's blind and has dead daughters. But the reality is that for a long time that was the case. So we acknowledge that we can't have a society where you just kill someone for killing someone else. But to some degree, we have the death penalty in some places.
Yeah.
But we also acknowledge that
there should be consequences.
There should be consequences, and that if there aren't any, let me back it up real quick to something that you brought up, is the cost of you're denying a claim and someone dies, right? It's been interesting to me to see the number of people who seem to think that if you deny claims because that would be expensive and therefore not good for business, that somehow means that you didn't someone paid you for a service. You denied the service for the sake of profit. This killed them.
Yeah.
So you still did kill them through inaction. And that's somehow okay. Even if you say it's not the same as shooting someone, how is that morally okay? Oh, well, it's not good. Okay, who's going to bring the consequences? That's my thought. Who's going to punish you for this behavior?
Yeah. I don't feel any sympathy for the man because I have also recently gone through rigorous physical therapy. I don't know if I told you, I have explosive shoulders and horrible legs.
That sounds pretty dangerous. I don't know if I want to be near explosive joints.
So what happens is if I roll my shoulder wrong, it just dislocates both of them.
That's insane. That's scary.
I've had it where I've woken up with a shoulder dislocation. It sucks. Yeah. I take
brutal.
my shirt off. It dislocates.
That's not cool. The cooler Kevin says that's not cool.
Yeah, that's not cool. Another problem I have is if I walk too long, my feet just dead. It's it just hurts intensely. I feel intense pain.
You got a lot of problems.
Yeah, I got a lot of problems. So
Sames.
I went to physical therapy. Though. Yeah, you're the cooler Kevin.
I'm the cooler Kevin. Yeah.
So I went to physical therapy. He was like, yeah, my insurance is gonna cover this because how is this not? It's a major thing I need to fix.
Yeah, if you don't fix it, that's going to cause even worse problems in long term.
Yeah, so insurance decided to cover none of it.
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're like, well, if it was really overpriced drugs, well, we've made a deal where we are invested in the company.
No, there's a weird thing too. If it's overpriced drugs, if it was a capsule instead of a pill, it would have been fine.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy. It's all ludicrous. And so here's the thing. I've seen some people online say, well, the problem with healthcare prices is the hospitals and doctors are overcharging. And let's say that's true, which it is actually.
They are overcharging, but that's because they need to get the insurance to actually fucking pay them.
Well, here's the thing. If we were to have the argument where we're not going to say one guy is the bad guy, right? We're going to say, treat it as true that, yes, you go to the doctor and they charge you, if you have no insurance, $200 for a service. They charge the insurance company $1,000. We could say, wow, that is actually pretty bad. What are we going to do about it? Are we just going to ignore it and say, well, leave it as it is? Brian Thompson had no hand in this. Like, you're telling me the powerful CEO of a healthcare company couldn't have negotiated, well, we should all pay the same prices. And then at the same time, if I were to say the words, well, we should regulate, maybe we should make it so that the healthcare company has to pay the bill and the doctor has to charge a reasonable price. Oh no, regulation bad. It's always bad when you...
Oh no, cool, Kevin. I can't believe you are a socialist scum. Why?
Well, no, I'm not. I'm actually really cool, which means I understand economics. And something I know as the cooler Kevin is that the invisible hand of the free market is a great guy. Firm grip, not real. So whenever you talk about the free market doesn't exist because without regulation, without someone telling you can't do something, they're all just going to work together to fuck you over.
And there's a major problem with the free market in terms of healthcare specifically because medicine really, you don't really have competition.
Not really.
And it's like your customer doesn't have a choice. If they need insulin, they need insulin.
Right. Yeah, that's you're a captive audience, you know, or a captive customer. Like you have to get the services that are being provided because you need them.
Yeah.
And most of the time, these healthcare companies, the director of the hospital is on the board for United Healthcare or vice versa. You know what I mean?
You remember there was a time where it's like, I forget what exactly happened, but insulin, they were saying like insulin's free or something, and the insulin company said, it's like, don't worry guys, insulin is not free, and they apologized to their investors.
Right. Well, here's the real problem. So I've talked about this before. I am a capitalist. I believe in the right to make money. I believe in the right to success. I don't think that all wealthy people should have their wealth taken away.
Yeah.
When I talk about like really rich people who are screwing us, I'm talking about people like Elon Musk. I'm talking about Jeff Bezos. I'm talking about people who are so wealthy they can't even do anything with all that money, and they do it at the cost of other people, right?
Yeah.
Which is true. If you don't think that's true, you have done zero research on the finances of these people. It's all public. It's very easy to look into. But the reality is that these companies, the problem isn't that they make money. The problem isn't even that they're for profit.
Yeah.
It's that the entire system is like, it's not we made money. It's we need to make more money. Because of public, because of like the stock market. I think the stock market is a huge, like I invest in stocks.
Yeah.
It's not good. Most companies aren't actually valued equal to their actual like intrinsic value, right? So like if you were to sell all the parts of an organization, it wouldn't add up to the value of the stock. And they're either undervalued or overvalued.
Yeah.
And every year, you'll see a company go, yeah, we beat last year's sales, but we didn't hit target. Stock value drops. Everyone gets mad because it wasn't enough. And if you said, yeah, we made as much profit this year as we made last year, they'd go, that's not enough. You need to make more.
And that's why I kind of hate modern companies, because the customer is no longer the person paying for the product. The customer is the investor looking to get the next year's gains.
Yeah. They don't care about you. They care about the investors allowing them to keep their job.
Yeah. I tried to explain this to my dad. Like, Google doesn't care about giving you the best search results anymore. They care about putting ads in front of you. Microsoft doesn't care about making a good OS anymore. They care about putting as much ads in, because they already know they've got you. It's like you are not going to try a new operating system. So they put as much ads as possible.
What operating system? You got 3.
Yeah.
Temple OS.
Yeah, they put as much ads as possible. And I found there was an interesting quote from someone from Level 1 who said, they find your grandma searching for cookies and like going through ads, and they show the statistics of, oh, this person has spent this much time looking at this page.
Yep.
So they can make it more and more convoluted just to show, look at the statistics on how well your ad is being viewed.
Yep. Yeah, it's the system isn't designed anymore to reward happy customers and good service. And that's why so many companies give bad service. And lo and behold, one of the things people talk about, everyone except, let's talk about Valve software. Everyone but Valve's enemies. So Valve's competitors think Valve is bad. Valve's customers love Valve. They always love Valve. Someone showed a thing the other day where they messaged Valve saying, yeah, my cat like destroyed the case for my Stream Deck. Can I please purchase a new one? There's no means on your website to purchase a new one, but I really like it. I'd like to purchase a new one. And Valve just said, we'll just send you a new one. Please check this information to make sure it's right. And no charge. And people always say Valve has really good customer service. And even that documentary that tried to like say that Valve's, the inner workings of Valve, there's a lot of problems. It's
I'm sure there's a lot of problems everywhere.
Where you're going to go, there's always problems, but there's a reason a lot of people are still there and are happy there, and the company has maintained success.
You know, an interesting thing, Valve didn't go public.
That's my point. What is the difference between Valve software and everyone else who has unhappy customers? They never went public because there's no demand to force them to. Even the CEO, this is another problem. CEOs of these organizations, they're not just paid cash. They're paid in stock, right? And that was originally done with the idea being, if their payment is investment in the company, the success of the company, they're more invested in the success of the company. That was the idea, right? If we pay them in stock, they'll be more invested in the success of the company. But what actually ends up happening is the value of the stock is the only thing they care about. It's what the investors want, it's what the board wants, and it's what their bank account wants.
Yeah.
So doing well only matters if it affects the stock, which means actually all they need to do is show sales numbers. They can run the worst business in the world, and as long as they make profit, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
You know, you can say some people like Intel, right? They've done bad, and that affected the stock negatively. There is a limit to how awful you can be.
Yeah.
But the healthcare industry doesn't have that issue because the healthcare industry has a captive audience.
Because what are you going to do if they do badly? What?
Yeah, like if the hospital treats me like shit, at the end of the day, I was dying, so I needed to go to the hospital. It doesn't matter that they beat me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. I didn't have an option. My option was there or not. It's kind of like if someone calls you an ambulance after an accident. Ambulances screw you. They're all private, which is wrong. I don't know why that is. I don't know why the fire department is publicly ran, but the ambulance is a private company. They charge you $10,000, $3,000, whatever dollars for like a mediocre ride to the hospital, and you had no control over that. But what were you going to do? You're crippled on the side of the road, maybe unconscious. You didn't have a choice. But if you don't pay that, you're in trouble, even though you didn't ask for it. Someone did it for you.
Yeah.
You know, so wrapping that back around, it's like you've got this entire system from the hospitals to the health, the insurance companies to the drug companies. All of them are colluding to just focus on profit over service. And then you want to tell me, well, they have to deny grandma her cancer care. They needed 10 different verifications from unlicensed doctors and they didn't get them.
But riddle me this, cool Kevin. All people who have never needed health care think it's fine.
That's true. Well, that's pretty uncool of them because of course they don't think that. People who don't have to deal with something don't have a problem with it. It's like saying, oh yeah, I think the dentist is fine. Oh, if you've ever had a cavity? Well, no, I've never been to the dentist. People who don't have a problem with the police have never had to deal with the police. Yeah. Right. And so I feel like, without even being radicalized, that what Luigi did in bringing a new ghost to his mansion was an important lesson.
Yeah.
Because the rich and powerful, and what I really want to say is the powerful, because not all rich people a lot of rich people will actually think it's bad, the way things are, but they're not powerful.
Yeah.
A lot of the powerful have forgotten that they are one angry enough person from suffering the ultimate consequence, and that no bodyguard. I mean, we saw it when Trump got shot at. Like, it was just some conservative kid who thinks he's ruining the Republican Party, but yeah, it was just one angry kid.
And he was very close.
Yeah, he was very close. And it's like, you know, there's the reason that we have a peaceful society where we don't murder each other is because there's the agreement that you won't make me have to. Right? That there will be a system in place to make it so that the way to solve this problem isn't murder. And the system in place is no longer making that true.
Yeah, it feels like that in general. It doesn't feel like there's, in the government, it doesn't feel like there's checks and balances, as people like to say. I mean, the justice system doesn't have, it's like a person, a judge can just rule on any case, even if they have technically any skin in the game. They just have to say they don't.
Yeah, oh, I'm being unbiased. Yeah, I don't have any skin in the game. I'm just being unbiased. Yeah. No, judges are, the problem with judges is they're elected. So they run campaigns and get elected, and then they're not, you know, and judges are super biased all the time. I mean, you see the way that they rule on cases, and they do it just based on, well, this is the law. None of them ever ask the question,
should the law change?
Should the law change? Is this right? The question, is this right, isn't ever really asked. And even when police do something abysmal, because they're cops and part of the system, they always get off at least lighter, right? On that same note, if you kill someone, that's murder. If you kill a cop, that's murder one, right? Or it's manslaughter, and then it's brought up to murder because it was a cop. It's this first-class, second-class citizen structure. And so, which is pretty uncool, I have to say. You know,
you would know.
I would know. Yeah, I'm the cooler Kevin. But when you look at situations like this, it's a clear reminder that actually our society runs entirely off of an agreement that we're not going to be forced to do this. And that hasn't been kept up. As you said, the government doesn't regulate. The judicial system allows judges and lawyers and DAs. I mean, DAs push for conviction when there's no real reason. You watch some of these like probable cause things on YouTube. There's one judge who's always doing probable cause in like a YouTube short, and he'll just sit there and like, so what's the cause? Walking while black? You know what I mean? And they'll be like, well, he refused to give his ID. He doesn't have to. So what was the probable cause? But it's like, wait, so this guy had to show up to court. He got arrested, had to show up to court to hopefully have the judge not be just a cop fillator and go and
a reasonable person.
Yeah. Just for everyone to agree, yeah, there was no crime here.
Yeah.
That's not how the system should work. Maybe when you screw up, maybe you should be punished for that. But the system doesn't exist. I said this, this is going to be the most radical hot take, and it's very cool, by the way, that I've ever actually said on this. One of the things I've always said is, I wonder if all these people, all these cops who beat people and arrest people illegally, if people just started retaliating in super harsh ways, would they change their perspective? If like it just kept happening, like no matter what the law says, people started treating cops the way cops treat them. Now, that doesn't mean I was advocating for it.
Yeah.
But the point that I'm making is remember, the fear that they have, cops have a lot of fear, but their fears are unfounded, right? But would you think that like if you were beating the shit out of some guy on the side of the road and everyone in the neighborhood came and beat the shit out of you instead when they saw you doing it, would you feel comfortable doing that anymore?
No,
but nobody does that.
But there's no consequences for what you.
The consequences, don't do that next time. We're going to put you through an e-learning on how to respect people's constitutional rights.
And then you can like skim through it. And it's like,
yeah, you just skim through it, and then they go, yeah, he completed training, so we put him back out. Yeah, that's the problem. And that same thing goes to this Luigi situation, right? At what point do these people go, maybe I shouldn't be denying grandma her life-saving care?
Yeah, because it feels bad to say, but hearing that he died, I didn't feel anything for him.
No, I didn't feel anything at all. And I didn't wish death on him.
I didn't wish death either, but I also didn't feel. It was like, I don't feel like we lost anything.
Well, it's a reap what you sow thing. That's
Yeah.
the thing people keep forgetting. They're like, because I had this argument with a family member literally just the other night. They're like, oh, so you think this is good? And I said, I don't think it's not about good or bad. It's about a reap what you sow situation. Again, we are at a point in society where the agreements are no longer being upheld by both sides.
I think it's the consequences of your actions.
Exactly.
That's about it. Should it be this way? Probably not. But again, would he have gotten consequences?
Well, if his organization managed to not screw people over constantly, and everyone thought they were a good company, why would anyone feel the need to do so?
Well, the interesting thing is, didn't his company gain money from him dying?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
That's what I've heard. It's like, whoever is like,
that'd be pretty uncool if they did.
It would be pretty uncool, but that's like the thing I heard, which I thought was kind of ironic in a way.
All I can say is that I think if things don't change quickly, I think you're going to see more of it, because people are going to become radicalized. You know, we already see people are. We see prisoners shouting, "Free my man Luigi," at the camera that's like reporting outside the jail.
Because it's interesting, because it's a crime that
everyone agrees with.
That everyone agrees with.
Or the majority agree with.
The majority of people who kind of pay attention agrees with, which should scare a lot of people.
That's my point. That is the core point I'm making. If the majority of people think that this was good, it doesn't matter whether it was right or wrong.
Yeah.
You should be asking yourself why so many people think it's good.
Yeah.
You can say that it's wrong all day, but subjective morality, my dude, everybody is saying that the vast majority, I mean, I've met 2 out of like 30 people who don't agree that this is a good thing. Why is that?
My favorite quote is, if your death causes the screaming of Ewoks like the end of the second Death Star, you gotta rethink your life.
You do. It's true, though. You do. If the Ewoks and everyone are dancing because you died, maybe you're the baddie. So maybe you should look in the mirror. Yeah. That's my point. It's not about whether killing that guy in the street was right or wrong. We can all agree that on a fundamental level,
yeah, murder's
it's wrong.
not great, yeah.
But if you get shot in the street and the majority of people cheer, maybe you're a bad guy. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe you're a bad guy.
Perhaps.
It's, even if you're someone who thinks he didn't deserve it, even if you think it is, and you know what I do think? It's someone my family member said, they said it's tragic for his family. And I go, you know what it is? It is tragic for his family. I wonder if they're going to look in the mirror and go, was our family benefiting from evil? Probably not.
Dan, his wife, was like, I'm pretty sure when they asked his wife, it was like, who do you think could have done this? And then she kind of responded, he did screw over a lot of people.
Yeah, she said that. She said that a lot of people are angry at him.
And a lot of people said, it was like, but he has children. And I thought to myself, it's great that they don't have that as a father.
Oh, that's pretty brutal. Oof. That was pretty based. Kind of cool that you just say that out loud.
Because it's like, it sucks that they don't have a dad, but again...
Well, he might have been a really good dad.
He might have been
We don't know.
It's like,
I don't know what his personal life was like.
But again, it's like, I don't feel bad.
Yeah, I don't feel bad. And why do we not feel bad? It's not because I think that killing is cool.
I don't think
killing isn't cool, okay?
Yeah, I don't think killing the father of 3 children is cool. I think the fact that he's killed so many other people, as indirect as it may have been, even though he didn't go and like gun them down, he's still responsible for pain and suffering to a lot of families.
As the CEO of an organization, you are directly responsible for the policies and practices of your company. Mm-hmm. If someone does something that goes against those policies, then they are responsible. But if they are your policies and your practices that you do not change, you are directly responsible for them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. He bears the burden of the negative actions of his organization.
That's funny, because this is the first time it feels like a CEO has actually done that.
What do you mean?
Because I'm thinking recently who is the Blizzard CEO?
Bobby Kotick.
Has he suffered anything from all the bad news?
No, he just gets more money.
He gets more money. So he didn't really face any consequences, even though they were his policies. All of this stuff was his. He gets his golden parachute, and he gets to fly away to
He's
his
just a billionaire now.
50 yachts. Yeah, whatever.
Because he was getting like $200 million a year, some shit like
And
that.
so many people suffered because of him.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only time where it feels like he got what was coming to him. I
agree.
Yeah. It's like, I know how bad that sounds, but this is like the closest thing we've come to that.
Right. Well, that's my point. That was the point I made. Yeah. There is no one else holding these people accountable for their evil actions.
Yeah.
And we can sit here and say, well, it's actually the doctors overcharging. Okay. We should work on that. Are they being held responsible? No. Well, actually, it's the regulations. The regulations make this all possible. Okay. What are we doing about it? Nothing.
Yeah.
No matter how many levels you go on this, the issue at hand is that nobody in my entire lifetime is addressing the fact that these things are objectively wrong. Yeah. So the reason everyone who matters actually thinks this is a good thing is because it's the first time anyone who wasn't just a lunatic has taken direct action against evil, and it actually did something.
Yeah.
And I personally think that if the people with the ability to make a decision don't choose to take action based on this, we're going to see copycats. Florida, you know what they just did? Mm-hmm. Did you hear about the woman who, while she was on the call with her healthcare company, they were denying her and she was fighting with them, and she just said, like, deny, like, defend, oppose, you guys are next. And so now they're trying to prosecute her for threats of terrorism.
I have not heard that.
Well, Florida is sort of just like bad. You know, it's just like an evil government.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know.
I used to live there, so I don't have a problem saying it.
There's one cool thing about them. They try to get rid of Disney World,
which is pretty base.
Which is pretty,
and very cool.
It's for very stupid reasons, but I think
it's cool because it's funny, not because I dislike Disney.
Yeah. It's like, Disney is woke. We need to get rid of them. And I'm thinking to myself, isn't Disney like very good for you guys?
Yeah, but they feel. I mean, it's a mixed bag. Disney has a lot of control in Florida, and that's like not good in some ways. But you know, I actually don't have a position on that issue. You know, but I think it's very funny.
I don't care much which way it goes. I like the fact that Disney is getting. I just like the fact that Disney is getting something for no reason.
Yeah, but like, no, it was interesting that her saying that, which they're saying, oh, that's terroristic threats. I'll be like, I don't know. We'll see, because it's Florida. I think if her lawyers continue to appeal, even if she gets convicted, I think it'll go to a higher court, because I think that I'm pretty sure that statement doesn't fall into the line of terroristic threats. I think you're still within your rights here. You know, certain things aren't protected speech. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure saying that in anger in a moment is not actually in line with terroristic threats. I think it'll be a battle though. And that's what it really is. You can see how scared they are. The powers that be are afraid of copycats. And you know what?
They should be.
They should be. And you know what? It's going to happen. I promise you. If nothing changes, if that woman gets convicted, you're going to see copycats, because people are fed up, and you can only kick everyone while they're down so many times. And worst of all, you're kicking people who are already down. They don't have a lot to lose. When your life has already been ruined by cancer, or you've only got a year to live, if you're like, well, I've got a year to live, I could spend that year killing CEOs. You know? Yeah. Even if you kill one of them, you've done something with your year that's left.
And people won't think badly of you.
No, people will be like, hey, clap, clap, clap. Good job. Very cool. Yeah. But again, I'm not advocating for that. My ideal world is one where people go, they look in the mirror, they take off their cool glasses. I won't, because I'm too cool for it. Yeah. And they go, maybe what I'm doing is wrong and the things could be better.
But maybe also this needed to happen.
Well, I don't think that's a maybe. I think it's inevitability.
This needed to happen, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe it's a shame that it did.
It is a shame. It is a shame. I think that's important. For everything I've said, it's not what I would want. My ideal world is one where that doesn't have to happen.
I've said before on this podcast, it sucks that it takes a martyr to have change.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like this is yet another case of we need a martyr to...
So that quote, it's an important lesson. It actually comes from RimWorld. So in RimWorld, Santa was like sick, or I don't remember, Santa wasn't around. So Death was being Santa this year, right? Because someone needed to do the job. And a little girl sits on his lap. He's like got a whole mall Santa set up. And a little girl sits on his lap and she says, "What do you want?" And she says, "I want a sword." So he gives her a sword. And they say, "You can't give that to her. She's a child." And he's like, it's useful for defending yourself. And they're like, "She could hurt herself." And then he says, "That would be a valuable lesson." And it's like sometimes the only way to learn an important lesson is to get harmed.
Yeah.
Right? And people don't generally go through growth without suffering. Most people don't. When do people get their health better? When they get harmed by their negative health. You know, people don't start losing weight until their weight starts killing them. People don't fix their diet until their diet starts harming them. You know, people don't get a better relationship until their relationship is really hurting. You know, people don't do things to grow as a person. People don't become better people until everyone around them says you're an asshole.
Until there are consequences, one might say.
Until there are consequences for your actions. And then you learn a valuable lesson. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we've made the point here. At the end of the day, Luigi's Mansion is a really cool game. Yeah. So let's pivot, because we do have other things that have happened and we can't really afford to go another week and being even more delayed on every bit of news. The Game Awards happened.
Yeah. We talked a lot about Nintendo. And
we did just talk a lot about Nintendo
and Luigi's Mansion.
So the Game Awards.
Someone's
happened.
probably like scrolling back. I was like, "What
The fuck? What did I miss?" Yeah. Like they jumped forward and then they're like, "What are these guys? How did we go from shooting CEOs to the Game Awards? I'm so confused. What do you mean Luigi's Mansion? I'm lost."
Yeah, we had a long conversation about Luigi's Mansion.
Well, pivoting from radical change to video games is pretty cool. Yeah. Honestly.
There is actually one cool thing about that I really liked at the Game Awards. There was a guy they brought up who talked about layoffs, which was interesting. In which with a show that had Microsoft, Sony, and the team Asobi and stuff, they talked about layoffs in a sense, and they brought up a person who brings jobs to people who have been laid off.
Interesting. I heard mixed things about that guy, because a lot of people think that was an industry plant, that like the whole goal there was to like pretend that they give a shit. I don't really know if that's true. This is just something other people said.
I didn't think he was part of the industry at all. From what I understand, he was just like an independent guy who just made a Discord and has a bunch of stuff. I joined the community because I was interested. It doesn't seem like he's necessarily to a specific company.
Interesting. So I don't generally actually watch the Game Awards because I call it the Ad Awards.
Yeah, I was there for the advertisement.
Right. Well, it's just what it is it's a bunch of industry insiders, half of which don't actually like video games. They're a bunch of like, culture websites and journalists, and none of it actually has to do with people who actually review and care about games. I mean, listen, I heard Astrobot was a good game from everyone who played it, but I also never played it and don't know many people who did. Why did it win Game of the Year?
I think it was because it was Sony's only game.
It's all rigged. The whole system is rigged.
Oh yeah, it's rigged for sure. And I think Sony really, really needed the win.
Right, and so they're giving it to them for that reason, because they're all getting paid. Because all of them are in each other's ass. They're all collectively fucking each other. And my difficulty with the Game Awards is it does kind of feel like just a lot of autofellatio. You know, I don't really think like good games end up there. You know, Balatro was really good and it won an award, which is good. And Metaphor, ReFantasia, like I'm enjoying that game, as you know. I've been playing it on stream. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's a fun game.
Well, only Kevin enjoys it. You're cool, Kevin. I don't
Right,
know.
I'm cool, Kevin. Well, cool Kevin thinks that I'm the cooler Kevin. And
Yeah.
the cooler Kevin does think it's a pretty cool game.
Oh, okay.
Right? It talks a lot about politics. I have to be honest, Metaphor is an interesting game because it has like the amount of real world parallels that are so blatant. There's a guy who's like one of the in the election to become king. He's just this old guy with a spear.
Oh, I
who when he
remember that.
starts combat, he just shouts, tax the young, bankroll the old. And I'm just like, what the fuck? That's your battle cry for actual combat?
Yeah. I remember that.
That was just wild. You know, and like a lot of the other people you're running against are like, he's like, I think everyone should be beautiful and all of society should be balanced over who's so beautiful. It's like, what the fuck am I doing? What am I? And there are people who are actually going, yeah, I love this guy. And
Well,
I'm like,
to be fair, is like as you said earlier, they were talking about who should be like
king.
no, in real life,
Oh.
who should be what was the field, like who should be in charge of health, and it was between
yeah.
the RFK Jr. and the
The fat person.
yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, well, look at RFK. He's ripped and, you know, takes testosterone. So, man, it makes it a lot easier. And look at this other person. They're fat. So, therefore, that means they know more about health or less, respectively. Yeah, no, you're right. It's been very interesting playing it because it's very ham-fisted with its direct real-world correlations.
Well, to be fair, that's kind of how Persona games are.
Yeah, they are. But I think it winning an award was good. But it's hard for me because it's mostly just ads. And I think something that's interesting, we've talked about this before. We talked about it in many episodes ago where a lot of people got mad at us for asking if woke was just an excuse. Naughty Dog talked about their new game, Intergalactic.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I did.
Yeah. So, you know, Neil Druckmann always puts his fetish in the game. And I agree with lots of the criticism. It looks like a Druckmann game, a Cuckman game. You know, as the cooler Kevin, I can tell you that Neil Druckmann is the least cool person in the gaming industry.
Yeah. It's like I saw, for some reason, I saw the beginning. It was like Jack and Dexter. It was like, what was it? Crash Bandicoot. It was like, oh, I love these games. Then I forgot about the later games.
Yeah.
The last of it was like, oh.
Well, yeah, Naughty Dog hasn't made a game that, like, everyone was like, wow, that's really fun, funny, and good in a very long time. I think if they fired Neil Druckmann and, like, brought someone with, like, a modicum of creativity on board, instead of just, like, making a character who's a facsimile of himself, fuck some muscle woman.
Yeah, it's like I saw the new trailer. I was like, what is this?
This is something that frustrates me. Every time I see people complaining about woke or DEI, every time I get tired of it because I go, you're jumping at shadows.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while it actually happens where you're like, what the fuck is this that you're presenting me with? This character is instantly dislikable. Why did you do this? And then I'm like, you just gave them fuel. Because in this one instance, they're right. And that feels like whenever Naughty Dog is in control.
Yeah.
You're just sighing.
Well, because I think characters like that can be okay, but it...
Well, you know what? So there's something I always explain. In a vacuum, if someone said, what's wrong with a muscular woman? She does physical combat. Well, nothing. Yeah. What's wrong with shaving your head? Hair is annoying. Well, yeah, in a vacuum, you're right. What's wrong with having an attitude? Not every person is necessarily likable. Sure, I would agree that is true. In a vacuum, none of these traits are bad. Even all combined, they're not bad. But if you present me... So first off, there's two statements that about that. One, if you add all of these traits together and it makes an unlikable character, why are you surprised I don't like them? And two, it's incredibly obvious when the reason something happened wasn't because it made sense. It was because that's what they wanted to put in. So they went to the drawing board and they said, I drew this, right? And so let me put it to you this way. Someone didn't... I'm going to draw a parallel, right? So let's say the main character is a really ugly goblin that poops themselves, right? And someone didn't go down and say, because of the way the narrative is written, a really ugly goblin that poops themselves is really, really good for the story. You're not like... I'm cracking myself up with my own delivery here. You guys laughing is screwing me up. You're making me less cool.
Listen, the goblin who shits himself could be a very cool character.
Listen, you didn't sit down and say it is important for the narrative, from a narrative perspective, that this goblin be very ugly and poop themselves.
You see,
what you said was we have to fit pooping yourself and being an ugly goblin into the story. Well, what is the story? I don't know. It has to have an ugly goblin.
Listen, the goblin has to have shat themselves.
It has to be this way.
Yeah.
So you're like, you've created this thing where the goal wasn't creating a good game. The goal was to create an ugly goblin that shits itself. And then I am being ruined by my own bad joke.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it. Well, it's okay because I'm cool. So,
yeah.
But you've sat down and said, this is what I have to have. And then when everyone's like, man, I really don't feel invested in an ugly goblin that poops themselves. And you're like, why? None of these things are bad. Well, I guess in a vacuum,
Yeah.
like there isn't something innately wrong with these character traits. But when I see an ugly goblin that poops themselves, I'm expecting that like this is a fantasy game. We're like playing Baldur's Gate 3. We've gone into a cave and like there's an ugly goblin who's kind of a joke character. He's like an old guy and he like poops himself as a joke into the dialogue.
He
like,
took too much fiber or something.
Yeah, like these are things where it's like this could be here. Like in a vacuum, these things are not bad. But when this is the protagonist in my like space adventure where the character is supposed to be cool and stylish.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this woman is an ugly goblin who poops herself. I'm just saying that
it would be very funny.
It'd be very funny if it was. But you know, you have to look at it and go, it's obvious that things look kind of it is obvious that you have shoehorned this in to make a statement. Not because it would be good.
I think that's the biggest frustration here. Because it's like, I don't care about these traits, but it's very obvious that you didn't make her like this because she would be a good character. You made her like this because you knew this would happen.
Because you're Neil Druckmann.
Yeah.
Neil Cuckman.
And I feel like this has happened so many times. What's that shitty game where there's a lady who gets isekai'd into another world and no one liked it?
Oh, God, yeah.
What was it, the Square Enix game, I think?
Yeah, it was that bad Square Enix game where she was just like, I guess... Thank you, Michael, Forspoken.
It's like, it just reminds me of that character. It's like she may look completely different, but the attitude and the ideas, it's like the way that the character is presented is like, yes, you've done this again.
Yeah, no, I agree exactly. It feels manufactured, a purposeful manufacturing of an unlikable character, and you know, people will say stuff like, "Oh, you're all porn-brained," and this is true, by the way. I actually agree with that to some degree. When I'm criticizing it, I don't need a bunch of attractive characters. I'm not looking for my latest character to be something I want to fuck. I do actually disagree. People always keep like comparing everything to Stellar Blade as if Stellar Blade was the big win against the Wokes. I don't find those characters attractive either for the opposite reason. They look like dolls.
Yeah, you said they're very manufactured.
Yeah, they don't look real. They're overly symmetrical. I don't feel like I could... One of the most attractive things I think a character can be...
is imperfect.
Is look like someone I could actually meet. If I see a cute character who I go, this looks like I could meet them outside, that's very attractive, right? And they can still be fit and cool, and they could even have muscles, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think women can't have muscles, but
Yeah.
it's like you want to feel like there's someone that you can meet, but also attractiveness isn't a bad thing. You can be both. You can be imperfect and attractive.
I think it's like they could also be ugly as long as their character brings it. They have to have a good character, though.
Well, being unattractive isn't even necessarily a bad thing depending on the story. Some of the most beloved characters from history are ugly little goblins that poop themselves. You know what I mean? Like Oddworld?
Yeah. My favorite thing to do in D&D is to go in as a goblin, because I like the idea of a goblin.
Yeah. Not all my characters in D&D are handsome.
Yeah.
You know, like they can be ugly. That can be fun. That has its own kind of fun.
My favorite characters are those with very noticeable flaws and who have to really work to maybe not necessarily save the world, but to just get through their plot line. They need to work very hard. They need to do something.
Yeah, being born perfect and having everything handed to you isn't actually very exciting.
Yeah.
Seeing people overcome their shortcomings, like being an ugly goblin that poops themselves, is like, you're like, wow, you've stopped pooping yourself.
Yeah.
That's like really cool. Proud of you.
That's
a good plot point.
As an aside, I've watched Dragon Ball recently, and that's like one thing that stood out to me. I really liked the characters. I liked were not Goku or any of like the amazing people. It was Vegeta, it was Krillin, it was Piccolo, it was all these like people who like got destroyed, but it's like
you just other than Piccolo, you're describing a bunch of ugly little goblins.
I love Piccolo.
I love Piccolo, but he's not a little goblin. He's like a big goblin.
And I like these characters because they have so much potential to do great. It's just a shame that the anime will never let them.
No, they'll never do anything cool because Goku has to do the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Goku has to scream for an entire episode and then go, yeah, and then blow up the bad guy. And the bad guy go, actually, carrot cake, I had the power of the Scrimblow.
Yeah, I that's why I've always I
just made fun of Dragon Ball, and now all of Latin America hates me.
That's why I always kind of like whenever a battle scene is going, I was like, pass this part. Oh, Vegeta's making a speech. Let's
see what he has to say. Yeah, it's very interesting. No, I used to watch a lot of Dragon Ball back in the day.
Yeah.
I've seen everything that wasn't like the newest stuff where I just kind of I don't have any interest anymore. But yeah, no, I actually agree with you. Characters that actually have to work for something are very interesting.
They don't even have to be entirely good. I said I like Vegeta. Vegeta is very evil at the beginning of the show. And part way through it, he has like a midlife crisis where he wants to be evil again. I thought that was like the coolest shit that ever happened in like the anime. I was like, wow, I love this character more now. Yeah. It's like, I want to be evil again. It's like,
I miss the days when I was evil. I need to be evil again.
It's like, why?
Kakarot, you're too good.
It's like, and that made me fall in love with the character. And it's like, I love those moments. And I want like more stories like that. Whereas like this, it's like inside look into, you don't have to be like the greatest of character. Flaws can exist. It's just that how does the character deal with them?
Right. How do they deal with them and why are they there? I think that you can always tell when someone writes a character who isn't just like shaved head, jawline, white action man.
Yeah.
And that character, nobody complains about that character because it's clear that when they wrote them, they didn't write them to be this caricature of what they believe diversity is. It's because they had a compelling story to tell. Versus characters where you can tell that the goal was to be as far away from a, stereotype as they could be. And so they just created this weird amalgam where it's like, you're just making a statement.
Yeah.
This character isn't good, it's a statement.
It reminds me of Scissor 7, which has ridiculous character arcs. Have you ever seen the show?
No.
It's a Netflix show. It's a Chinese Netflix show. And it has some ridiculous arcs. One of them is a dog who is broken up with a cat because he finds out dogs and cats cannot breed. And
What? What a story.
Yeah. That's...
I never knew.
It's such a stupid premise, but... for some reason, it feels like they make it work. And that, like, happens throughout the show. There's, like, one time where it's, like, this guy was kicked out of a muscle group but because he couldn't push up enough. He didn't
do enough push-ups. You're not cool enough for our muscle bro club.
And like, that It's like, because of like backstory with that character, is like you grow to have sympathy for like why this has happened and all that stuff. There's a cat whose special power is having songs so sad he makes you feel like the main character of a music video. But it's like all this stuff is ridiculous, but feels like it has much more heart than anything that I've seen Naughty Dog put out recently.
It's because they sat down and they said, I've got a story to tell.
And as comedic as it's like, as ridiculous as these stories gets, this show somehow manages to get darker and like more intense than anything I think Naughty Dog could achieve now because of
Was it a Netflix production?
Or
was it just something they acquired?
I think it's just something they required because I didn't see like Netflix show at the beginning.
Netflix, the thing about Netflix is like they're guilty of this. A lot of their stuff is just like super progressive for the sake of progressive, where you're just like, all these characters are like a rainbow, you know, they fit every perfect thing perfectly.
It was a Chinese show. I didn't see.
Well, that explains it.
I didn't see a Netflix branding at the beginning of it. There were like two brands, like a bird getting hit by a sandal and this A something.
Hey.
Yeah, you wouldn't recognize it.
Hey.
But
that should be the noise that plays when it shows up. That's what sorry, this is an interruption, but one of the things that I love is when like a production company, they're just like, their little like splash is just the dumbest thing ever. So just like a monkey getting head and then just a monkey going and that's it. That's the whole thing. And you're like, what was that? I love it. You know, a dumb rat production and it's just a rat going, You know, you're like, that's a great name. That is a great name for a company, and that is a great
It
splash.
reminds me of the Jimmy Neutron one, where it's like this monkey who said, "Hi, I'm Paul." And
hi, I'm Paul.
I never understood what that was.
He's Paul.
Yeah.
It's his company. I wonder if I actually never looked. Was the company called Hi, I'm Paul?
I don't think so.
It should be. That's a good company name. It's funny. It's very cool.
Yeah.
I think that kind of shit is great. Sorry, I totally derailed you, but I love that. Like, I would love it if the production company's splash art was just a giant A on a white background, and then you just heard A.
No, I think I was at the end of it. It was just that it feels like this show is able to put more heart into their stories simply by the fact that they're just writing shit. It's like it's like they're not trying to like do whatever the fuck Naughty Dog is trying to do. Just like, hey, look at our bald lady has a bad attitude.
Yeah, and she makes this face while drinking a drink. Yeah. Love that face. Good face, yeah. Real attitude. Look at it, you know?
Yeah.
Very cool. You know what was also sad? I saw all this spaceship stuff, and I was like, oh, this is like some sci-fi stuff. Maybe this will still be good despite what I'm seeing. And then she pulled out a sword and fought a robot, and I was like, oh, man.
Yeah.
What a letdown. Nobody wants to make any sci-fi that I'm interested in these days. It's all like some sort of sword action game or like, I don't know. Like, it's not... You know what's a game that was surprising that I played way out when it was no longer relevant? It was Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
Oh,
where you're literally like in space.
Yeah, people were very mad that you were in space.
It was awesome. It was like, it really felt like a sci-fi game, and it has all these different like missions. So it has main story missions and side missions, and the side missions give you bonuses that affect later missions. So like you go do a side mission and then you unlock like new weapons for your spaceship. Not the carrier, but you actually drive. So the plot is that you are the commander, the highest ranking person within the flight crew, right? So all the people who fly fighters. And then in a big thing when Mars does this huge, because Mars is like a different It's colonized. They're not aliens. They're humans. Does this big like terrorist attack, wipes out most of the fleet. You and like one other carrier are alive, and on your carrier, much of the command crew, including the captain, all got killed. And so everyone's like, well, you are the highest ranking officer on the ship now, so you take command. Because there's really no one left. Like, there's not even someone back on base to take your place because like this terrorist attack wiped out like a lot of people. And so all of the missions have you flip-flopping between being on foot and actually like flying a spaceship. So you have missions that are just spaceship fights. You have missions where you actually get dropped off in space and then you, in a spacesuit, sneak into a space station. You have stealth missions on the ground. You have assault missions where there's like all these military forces with you. You have missions where halfway through you actually your ship comes down and you board it. It Harriers down and you board it and you do like a ace combat section and then you land again. And they have all these different things and it is really well done. And you actually like the characters. Like there's this, they introduce you to an AI soldier early on and it feels like a gimmick. And later in the game, I'm like, man, I love this robot. This robot's great. And it's not because they like tell you how great it is. It's a cool character. You know? I think it's the last good Call of Duty. That's my hot take. Everything after that game sucks. And I'll say that with my whole chest. It's a good game. I would actually highly recommend it. I finished it and was like, man, that was fun. The plot was sort of stupid.
Well, that's
the bad guy was Jon Snow, and he was just like maniacally evil.
Yeah, that's Call of Duty though.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I want though.
Yeah,
I'm kind of tired of like tragic villains. Give me just like an evil guy.
Yeah,
I'm. That's another hot take. Can we stop with tragic? I'm tired of everyone saying that angels aren't so good and demons aren't so bad. Like, give me Skeletor and let me just be like, want to kill him because he's bad.
That reminds me. I really liked Frieza because he was
unapologetically evil. He was a bad guy.
He was just evil. I was like, I kind of like. I was like,
well, it's refreshing.
Yeah.
In a world where everyone is tragic, all the heroes have flaws, and all the villains are tragic, and secretly they were doing it all for their long dead daughter or something, or dying or frozen daughter, or whatever. When everybody's Mr. Freeze isn't very unique anymore. You need the Joker to make Mr. Freeze seem different, right?
Yeah,
because that happened in Arcane. I don't even care. Spoiler warning, I'm going to talk about this for 5 seconds. Skip 5 minutes ahead if you don't want to hear it. That was my problem with Singed. He was the unapologetically worst character in the show, who seemed like he just had no morals, and then it turned out he's sad.
I was so disappointed.
It was a real letdown.
Yeah, because he could have just been like this very evil. That was what I thought.
Yeah.
Is like this evil doctor, and it made sense to me.
Yeah, he just believes in science above all.
And then
the ends will always justify the means. That's what,
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And then it was like, oh, I have to do it to save my daughter. And then everything was like, do you really need to do this to save your daughter? What the fuck?
Yeah, like really? Like all of this?
Yeah, it's like
you're going pretty far. Like,
did you really need to turn a man into a furry to do this?
Yes. Did you have to furify? Did you have to fursona this dude, like, to save your daughter? Like, while his blood, I'm gonna use it to arcane the runes, and then my daughter will be dead.
I was like, sure.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. And it's like every night I come and I read to her because I'm really sad. I'm a really sad, tragic guy. It's like, man, are you telling me that 100% of all characters in this show are just a normal guy who had a tragic event happen? Everyone is Luigi Mangione? Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's, I am tired of tragic villains.
I'm tired of shoot-in characters too. Mel should have died fucking season 1.
I'm surprised that they killed her mom, but then left, but then put her in the game. Riot, by the way, has turned into the scum of the universe. I uninstalled that shit from my computer. Did you see what they're doing with all these like gotcha loot boxes and stuff?
From a surface level, but I'm not really surprised.
Bad. Yeah, they're hiding prices. They're doing all these predatory practices.
Well, they're owned by Tencent, so...
Yeah, that doesn't really change what I'm saying, though. Like, yeah, it's still awful. It's like, Like, man, you guys were already making money hand over fist. We got another $200 skin.
They laid off all their
gotcha mechanics, like
laid off all their artists.
Yeah, using AI. Like, yeah, I completely am just like I'll never touch their products again. I'm so done. And I was really into Teamfight Tactics for a while there, but no more. Hoyo is better because at least when I launch Honkai Star Rail, I know exactly what I'm getting, and they don't hide the price.
I still don't like them.
I don't either. But like, I don't like gacha games in general. But I think that like there are ways of being less scummy. When you live in the modern age, when you're a Chinese company that all your games are gachas, you can make it worse. You can make it better. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's one of those things. I'm not saying that the thing isn't bad still. I'm just saying like someone had a soul enough to go, maybe we should just guarantee success no matter what at a certain point, you know?
I guess.
Maybe we shouldn't hide the prices. Maybe we should be very generous with our rewards that you get for free, you know? So that's my opinion on villains. I'm kind of tired of villains just being always tragic and good guys always being. That's the other thing. The church always evil. Like, I'm not even religious, and I'm kind of tired of hearing how the church is always a bunch of bad guys.
So. Yeah.
Like, that's true in every Japanese RPG. The church is secretly like evil.
And you have to kill God.
And you have to kill God, who's also evil. And I'm like, why? How about angels are just like good guys? That'd be kind of cool.
I also hate like the bad guy comes up with the idea that everyone should either die or be it's like they need to be part of a collective conscience, or they need to
everybody should just become Evangelion's ending.
Everyone should be put in the infinite Tsukiomi or whatever.
Everyone should be put into the infinite torture device. Why? Good. Why? Good. Well, because my dad beat me when I was a child, so I think that this is the solution to all the world's inequality. Yeah, I agree with you.
The end of Arcana was like, oh, Victor is going to do that. And it was like, reminds me exactly of Naruto.
You're right. It does. Well, that's always what it is, you know. Silco was a much more interesting villain because he himself didn't have any power. It was his intelligence and the loyalty of the people around him that made him strong.
Yeah.
That is a much more compelling villain than, I just cast Apocalypse. I cast spell Apocalypse. Everybody dies. Wow. Yeah. I mean, that is pretty evil, but like, I guess nobody could have beat you no matter what. So like when Jace was in the thing, removing all the cells, and then he just like flicked his wrist. And then I was like, well, now the plot doesn't matter because you can't be beaten. So this is stupid and uninteresting.
Yeah.
Nobody likes an all-powerful villain. When the villain is doing well because they're better than you or smarter than you, that's much more interesting than, well, they're just impossible to stop. They're just all powerful. It's like, well, then this is all inevitable. Everyone should just lay down.
Yeah.
You know?
What's the point of anything?
What's the point of anything? Yeah, it's a bad writing. Season 2 just wasn't as good as Season 1.
Yeah. It still had some good parts.
Oh, yeah.
I like the Echo episode.
Yeah, well, you know what? They should go back and give us just a series about alternate universe Jinx and Echo.
That would be
that I'm interested in.
They should have put more Echo in general.
Yeah.
It was like,
he's such a cool character.
Yeah, much cooler than Mel.
Well, I can say that because I'm the cooler Kevin, so I know what's cool. And I can say Echo's pretty cool.
And I like Mel's brother better than I like Mel. I'm not gonna lie, part of me kind of wished Jace was just gay so we could have Mel's brother more. It was like, because when we met him, I was like, oh, this guy is very cool. I wish he's not just some weird, like, ploy to get her to do something.
Well, I also just hated the whole Black Rose plot because I kept waiting for LeBlanc.
Yeah.
I was like, so where's LeBlanc? And then they just had like random shadow woman. And I was like, this isn't Black Rose. Like, Black Rose is a conspiracy cult to control the country that they're in, which is Noxus.
Yeah.
Like they're a cult that's controlling Noxus's government from underneath. They're not just like a group of persecuted wizards. That's not who they are.
I'm not gonna lie. If you remove Black Rose, I don't think anything will have changed.
No, the plot wouldn't have mattered. Right. Yeah, no, I agree.
Because even Mbessa said, even when like her daughter was like gone, like no longer like a victim of Black Rose, something could have happened to her. It's like, I'm gonna continue to do what I was gonna do because of a point.
It was an irrelevancy to the plot. I feel like they were just fitting it in there. Black Rose is much more interesting when they're not this weird whatever that was, because I don't know if you know, but in the lore, Black Rose is like, there's a bunch of characters you can play in League that are Black Rose members. So like LeBlanc is a member of Black Rose. Vladimir is a member of Black Rose.
They should have put Vladimir in it, and he should have made a lot of puns.
Yeah, a lot of puns, and like just sucked people's blood out.
Yeah.
So they died. My favorite part is it's like he's a vampire, but he doesn't like bite your neck. He kind of just goes like this, and like all your blood leaves your body. I don't know. It was it just felt weak compared to season 1, you know. And then we had like the lesbian betrayal, the redhead girl that turned out to be evil all along.
What?
Caitlyn's lover.
Oh, she was blonde. But
was she blonde? I don't know. She
was,
looked kind of ginger to me.
Maybe, but like that was.
I mean, she wasn't. I guess she was kind of. She was blonde with freckles, like a dirty blonde with freckles. I think it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But that was like, it was like, wow, you just put that in for no reason.
That was just there. Yeah, I was just like, if that hadn't happened, my opinion wouldn't have changed. You just really were just like, let's really drive this home for some reason. Yeah, not that I have a problem with a lesbian romance. It's just that the random betrayal just felt sort of unnecessary.
It didn't even. There was nothing to like lead to that.
Yeah. Like if they had just been lovers and then everything happened the same, but she didn't betray her, it wouldn't have felt any different.
And nothing changed.
Yeah, nothing changed. Yeah, the results were already there before that. Yeah. Though having her die did feel satisfying. She really had it coming. It was sort of the consequences of her actions.
That also didn't matter. The fact that she sabotaged that bomb didn't change anything.
Nothing changed. That's what it felt like. There was a lot of, this doesn't change anything moments.
It's like, oh shit, we sabotaged the bomb. It's like, now they can't blow it up. They blow it up anyway. They anticipated, and they like Victor.
Yeah, it did. I actually hated that, mostly because people say, "Well, that was their clever ploy," and I was like, the problem is that it devalues the entire thing that happened. It makes you realize that that's an irrelevancy, and you could say, "Well, that's the point of the plot," but the problem with that is that it's not about the fact that, from like a machination standpoint, that makes sense. It's about the fact that I just spent 30 minutes watching it, and now I can go, I can just like remove all of this from my mind because it's not important.
Yeah, and when you see Victor being all powerful, it's like, why did you even bother?
Why did we even bother?
He could have just walked in, and it was like, who could have stopped him?
Well, yeah, he could have. That's the thing, is like every time they do this stuff, you're like, you're cheapening the events that happened. It's not that it doesn't make sense, it's that it's just not good.
It's like this event happened for no reason.
Yeah, it happened for no reason for the viewer, right? Like it happened, there was a reason it happened in the plot. It makes sense from like a machination planning perspective, like we're going to distract you here so that they can go do something there. But it's like, me as the viewer, I'm just like, well, that was just like a waste of 30 minutes, because like if you had just like skipped all the fighting and had to just be like, I'm challenging you to a duel, and then they dueled, you'd be like, okay, yeah.
That would have just been the same thing.
It would have just been the same thing.
I just wouldn't have been like, what the fuck happened twice?
Yeah.
I was like, what is this?
Oh, okay, they're going to have a duel. Oh, she won. Okay. Oh, it was a distraction, right? Like, it's like, okay. Wouldn't have changed anything, but it wouldn't have wasted so much of my time.
Yeah.
You know, with them being like, look, another character that you like is dead. Isn't that sad? Aren't you sad? And look at this one. That's pretty sad. Look at that guy. He's screaming because he's dying. That's pretty sad.
It's like all these people, all these like three like major soldiers who they never name.
Yeah, like I don't know who that guy is. Just like Glup Shido. Like, yeah.
The funny thing
is,
it's
me, Fishman. Don't you love me?
You only know their names if you played the TFT set on the PBE.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
It's like the fishman's name is Seb. It's like
No, his name is Glupshido.
yeah, Glupshido, whatever. And like the blonde lady's name is
Glupshido.
I forget. And then it was like I forget the other guy's name. His name was
The
dropped.
cooler Glupshido.
The guy who hangs out with Vi all the time is like his name drops for the first time, then he dies.
Yeah. Well, I call him the cooler Glupshido because I actually liked him.
Yeah.
It's just too bad
It was like I was like, wow, this very cool character who is like.
I liked the way that their bond formed. I thought
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
But he's like you learn nothing about him.
You know nothing about him. Well, he's cool. He fights with a shield.
Yeah.
He's there because he likes Vi, and he doesn't like Vi for any romantic reason. They just bonded over being sad, and he wants to make a change, and then he dies, and you go, man, this is a really poor like weapon design. Why is there no front-facing shield for the guy?
Yeah.
Like if you go look at like any gun turret in the real world, there's like something to like block fire from the opposite direction in some way. Even the turret on top of a Humvee has something for you to like try to duck behind a little bit. Yeah. Well, all I can say is I hope that will be the last Arcane-like game. I'm done with it. But either way, I don't really have anything else to say on these subjects. Do you have anything that we've covered that you have any final thoughts on?
Not very specifically. I think that I'll enjoy the next Luigi's Mansion.
I'm looking forward to Luigi's Mansion 5.
Yeah. Seeing what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah. Well, if you made it to the end, thank you so much. Let us know what you think in the comments below. We're always interested in what anyone else has to say, specifically he does. I will, I'm the cooler Kevin. Maybe I'll take a look too.
Yeah.
But either way, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Have a nice day.